Hi, I'm Jack Howell. I don't have any good tape round stories of my own, so here is someone else's. My wife, Rian Kinney, was in grad school at McGill when she played a recital the night before the tape deadline for the Pittsburgh Symphony Piccolo audition. She had the recital hall reserved for an extra hour, and she had 2 cassette tapes. After everyone left, she recorded the list twice, and using a second deck, overdubbed a couple of excerpts from one tape to the other. Overdubbing erased what was on the tape she was dubbing onto, so she had one shot. She was convinced that she had made a party tape, and she wasn't going to send it. But her mom was in town for her recital, overruled her, took the tape, and overnighted it to Pittsburgh from the Montreal airport. That was the only orchestral audition tape my wife has made in her career. And the rest, as they say, is history. So, that's probably the best way to pass a tape round, is just be awesome. I've listened to a lot of taped auditions, though, including almost 100 flute and maybe 40 English horn tapes just in the past couple of months. Not everyone can rely on this strategy. As usual, I have no advice for forces of nature like my wife. My advice is more for players like me who have to work hard and run a very high RPM to have any chance of hanging with those cats. So, that advice, in a nutshell, is don't do it like my wife did. Don't leave it to the last minute. Don't give yourself only one shot. Make it a process, and use that process not only to make your best possible recording, but also to improve your playing generally. I started making this video specifically thinking of the students who are auditioning or are in the Pittsburgh Youth Symphony. Also for my CMU students who need to record fall ensemble placement auditions. But really, it's all the same. Colleges, summer festivals, grad schools, professional auditions, whatever it is, recorded auditions will likely be part of your life at least for a while. Whatever the level, whatever the stakes, the process is the same. Many, perhaps most players make audition recordings like my wife did. They book a hall or a studio, they prepare, they record. Usually they record close to the deadline, so they have maximum preparation time. They record it, they re-listen, they go, well, that's the best I can do right now. And they send the best take from that one session. And often I can hear that that's what they did, because if they had really listened to themselves and taken another shot, they would have fixed some stuff that was easily fixed. So, number one takeaway is that good playing is more important than good acoustics. The first step in the process is, my advice, is to the best of your ability, establish a consistently available recording environment and a consistent recording setup. This may be difficult if you're in college and it's hard to get a practice room, let alone a classroom or a recital hall, but do your best. A less than ideal room you can have 3 times a week is better than a great room you can only have for an hour. Obviously, there is a lower limit. You do want to represent yourself well, and it does make life easier for the committee if the sound quality isn't garbage. However, I can't really think of a failed audition tape where the playing was great but the recording was crap. The tapes I can remember like that were passed. And there have been some memorable ones. Dogs barking, sirens and horns in the street, clearly New York, other instruments playing. And it's probable that the players who made those tapes were already doing what I'm suggesting. That said, don't make an acoustically terrible recording if you can help it. If possible, invest in a standalone recorder and don't depend on your phone. First reason, because of memory. I'm always asking students to record themselves in the next week. I say, where's the recording? And they go, yeah, I meant to do it, but my phone was out of storage. If you use, say, a Zoom H2, which you can get used for around $50 on eBay and actually sounds really good, when you fill up one of the $15 SD cards, you can pop another one in and not lose anything. Second, because of control. The sound quality of phone recordings is actually pretty astounding these days. And you may be required to submit a video recording to verify that it's actually you playing. But the best place for the camera is rarely the best place for a microphone. And the best mic in a bad spot is a bad mic. I'll talk more about that in a minute. There's no need to go overboard. Just put some thought and effort into it, and maybe a little bit of money. You're going to be listening to yourself a lot, so you might as well try to get an accurate, not to say a flattering image. I mean, there's nothing wrong with flattering, just be wary of reverb. Even if it's just natural reverberation from the room, too much reverb muddles the sound, and if there's enough fake reverb that you can notice it, that's too much. Being creative with mic placement may enable you to make good sounding recordings in an apartment or a practice room. This room, it sounds horrible for clarinet. It's harsh and loud and picks up every little grainy, airy, clicky sound I make. And I've got all these guitars around that probably ring. But I recently discovered that if I put my Zoom recorder outside in the hall, I get less of the garbage and a bit of reverb from the rest of the house. For instance, here's a sample I just recorded. This will be the camera mic 4 feet away. It will be grainy and clippy and saturated. And here's the Zoom recorder out in the hall. It's still not studio quality, but if I had to make an audition tape, that's what I would use. In the past, in order to make small, bright rooms usable-ish, I've done stuff like put the mic in a box with a blanket, or aim it away from me into a foam pad. So just try stuff. Recording yourself consistently gives you the opportunity to find the best way to deploy whatever gear you have in your space and perhaps to adjust your clarinet setup for recording. Sometimes when recording here at home, I wind up with a much lighter reed than I would play in the hall and playing a little quieter to reduce noise and to take out some of the brightness that I need in the hall but just sounds gritty up close. And start recording yourself right away, both to dial things in and to start the process. If you practice for 10 days and then record once, you will learn less, you will make a worse recording than if you recorded several times and listened and worked in between. I always say music is an iterative process. You perform, evaluate, strategize, work, repeat. When an audition committee listens to your recording, they must assume that it represents your very best effort because obviously you had the chance to fix anything that wasn't good. So, problems with rhythm and pitch and articulation and phrasing are even more of an issue than they would be in a live round. So as soon as you get the repertoire list, record it. Even if, especially if, it's not perfect. The recording will show you what needs to improve specifically, and that may include things that you thought were pretty good. You shouldn't play Brahms 3 50 times without recording it. If your throat A is flat and you haven't heard it, playing Brahms 3 over and over will just make you more accustomed to hearing a flat throat A. So record it, hear it, fix it, check it. And every time you record, keep your take until you have one that is clearly better. Maybe the throat A was a little flat, but you caught capriccio, you caught lightning in the bottle. The more you listen, the more critical you will become, but the better your recordings will be. It's like they say about cycling. It never gets easier, you just go faster. Finally, if excerpts need to improve, strive to improve them at the fundamental level. Avoid baking fundamental problems into your excerpts. Mendelssohn Scherzo. If your articulation is deficient, playing the scherzo over and over won't help. It will just ingrain a bad scherzo. Capriccio. If your trills are slow, work them in isolation so that capriccio doesn't become a cue for habitual slow trills. Recording is particularly important for rhythm. There's more on this in my video called the acid test for rhythm. But if we play out of rhythm, it's because we played by feel lied to us, and now playing out of rhythm feels right. So playing Beethoven 6 over and over won't make the rhythm better. We have to listen, evaluate, and adjust. And even if the rhythm is perfect the first time, we need to monitor so that errors don't creep in. Music is a lifelong game of let's see how good we can get. So if you have to make a tape, you could think, oh, I have to make a tape. Or you could start playing a serious game of let's see how good a tape I can make. Which one sounds like more fun? Embracing an iterative process for recording your audition will ensure that the absolute worst that can happen is that you make yourself a better musician. And that's a win. I don't care who you are. Thanks for watching.